Hello, everyone. Thanks for being part of this call. Uh, we do have quite a few RSVPs today, actually, quite a lot. Um, so I just want to get started as soon as everyone, maybe around like, let's give 2 more minutes or 3 more minutes, then let's start it exactly at around 7. Um, So today we have our bot. So if in case you guys have any questions, feel free to drop your questions in the chat, or even tag the Agent University bot to answer those questions. It's usually grounded with the conversation we are having, so you could give it a shot. Just test it out. And also, we might provide you with the access to our hosted lab that you can use to, practice this MCP server creation hands-on. So please do try it out. I'll share you with those links shortly, so that you can get into that and start with your lab. So let me share you the URL. You might need uh, You might need to log in through your Gmail but there's a place where you can practice MCPs. Let me share that URL here. Yeah, so that's learn.agentversity.ai. Um, so if it is not working or if it is failing to start, please, you can always let me know, because there are quite a few RSVPs today. So if there are too many people who are trying to access this, we only have limited compute we are hosting via Code, and so that you could also review how these MCPs work. Um, Let me use this. Ram, is there any way you can disable this from the bot? Okay, I'm sorry. There was some issue with the. Yeah. So there we have I'll also share you with the GitHub link to this shortly. Yeah. So the GitHub link is right here, and we will go through that, go through the course shortly. But before that, let's start off with some theory on why do we need MCPs, and what is the whole use case of MCPs. Um, so please do share your maybe what you're doing. If you have already worked with MCPs or AI agents, please do share your details in the chat so that it's a good way for you to network with others who have already worked with it. And if you guys want to share or solve any question that anyone is asking, feel free to do so. Um, and let me go ahead and get started with this presentation. Sure, there you go. Sounds good. So yeah, so today we're going to talk about model context protocol. So before understanding like why we need MCPs, if anyone is new to the LLM world or large language models or building agents space, I would like to introduce you to what is an AI agent because this is what really MCPs do add a lot of value to these AI agents. So anything an LLM, if you're trying to maybe chat with ChatGPT or any of the you know products which are LLM based products, they cannot perform various actions. Like even though now ChatGPT can browse internet or maybe they can also operate a laptop because they have some services which are doing that. But by default, as once you have a trained LLM, it cannot access it cannot access tools or it cannot take actions unless you provide it access to these tools. So tools could be anything, a browser, it could be calling an API, it could be, calling your database. So those are all comes under tools. So whenever I say tool in all of this presentation, it does mean a tool could be a browser, a database, it could be a SaaS product like GitHub, Slack. This all would come under tools. So please don't get confused if in case you're listening to this for the first time. And also AI agent also comes up with memory planning, which we don't want to cover a lot, but in general planning is what it just does reasoning to plan out the actions, and memory is something that can persist all of its action that it took care of in the previous steps. But we're not covering AI agents here. We're just covering MCP. So that's the reason why I just put one slide just to showcase when I'm referring to a tool, it actually means anything that LLM would use to either get data or to perform actions. It could be a travel agent booking tickets using a browser, or it could also be a PR agent which can actually review your PRs. So, what happens without MCP? So, imagine, okay, now we know where the tools stand, and without MCP, if we don't use an MCP, that we would come exactly like we would explain what is an MCP later on, but how these tools, how the agents access these tools without MCP, what is a problem? Just as it is, like way before last year. I think MCPs came out in last year, October, around October month. And it was actually introduced by Anthropic. So it's a great blog. It's almost been a year now. These MCPs been around. There was not too much noise when it came out, but later on, there's a lot of SaaS products and everyone started adopting it. But way before MCPs, if in case my LLM has to access a tool, there could be different protocols. Like if I want to access GitHub, there's a REST. It guides own authentication and authorization. If I want to have my agent to access a database, you could probably do that through SQL, and there's also separate level of authentication. Microservices, they have different APIs. If you're trying to interact with a vendor, a vendor like AWS or Azure, it has its own IAMs and different SDKs that you need to deal with in order to do that plumbing, in order to provision that plumbing. And file systems, you have a direct path. So there are so many, there's no standard way to interact with these tools. If you want to create an AI agent, you spend most of your time plumbing into all these different protocols and also authenticating it against various SaaS providers, which is not too standard. And everyone actually repeats that again and again. So LLMs usually get confused. They when you put in so much of information, usually within the context, like how to interact with GitHub or how to access this tool, all this would usually mean that huge context with so much of JSONs in it, if in case it has to do that tool, it has to call that tool. So, and also one more thing is the product teams, they usually reuse, they can't reuse the work. So let's say if someone is using ChatGPT and they did some integration, or they're using a Claude-based LLM agent, and now they did a specific integration, or they're using Cursor to make these integrations. Like everyone would be working with different AI systems, so they all cannot reuse this integration again. Even if I do a small, if my product is able to just go and review PRs on GitHub, and well, I'm using LangGraph to do that integration, but someone is just using N8N. Now, in order to use the integration, we can't do that because they're tightly coupled. These integrations are tightly coupled with the framework or the client that you're using or the LLM that you're using, right? Because it also depends on different frameworks that you're using to build these intelligent systems or AI agents. So you can't reuse the work. So that's a problem again. So there's not much standardization there. Security becomes a mess because whenever you create this plumbing, you also have to take care of authentication and authorization. So without tooling, without proper standardization, you have things everywhere, right? There's no standardization around how the prompts needs to be done. Align, deny rules, these all would change for different integration. As different teams work on this MCP, or the hard wiring this plumbing, you probably would come into situations where you just have open access. Maybe you create a small integration to your Snowflake, but if it is not inheriting all of your existing governance, then probably you might have issue with security. So it doesn't mean that MCPs would solve this problem, but still, even MCPs would also need the same authentication and authorization. But at least you have a standardization so that your security is also standardized. It's also there's proper guardrails to put in, and it's reusable. So now with MCPs, things are standardized a bit, right? Because now your AI apps, it could be your large language models, all of your tools and data source, they all communicate in one standard way. So you don't have to deal with different protocols, different integration types, all of that. It's almost like having a universal adapter that can just make every AI tool talk to each other in a very streamlined way with a standard protocol. So that's they usually call it USB-C port for the AI system. So that's what MCPs solve. That's how these MCPs would resolve the standardization issue. So it's one of the diagrams which I got is before MCP, LLM should interact with all of them. They have different unique APIs. And, let's say if you're building a new LLM or different agent, again, you need to do all this integrations again. But after MCP, you see this middle layer, which is your model context protocol, which now sits in the middle, which is helping this integration possible, just like a USB-C port. So what MCPs usually does is they enable any AI app to discover these tools. So let's say you're building an AI agent and you want this AI agent to access GitHub or Slack. These MCPs are already readily available by the vendor. All you do is your AI apps can discover them, and you could perform that integration straightforward. They can also handle the tool execution just like how you were doing previously with REST API call. You could still do that, but now with MCPs, you have all of those APIs now wrapped with a layer in which your agents does know what resources or what tools are available, and it can make those calls programmatically through a tool call. So that's what it does, can handle this tool execution. It provides clean and structured context. So I have some slides here which actually shows about this. Like here, it's a way to discover various MCPs. It does provide clean and structured context. So if in case you want to get weather, you have a proper standard that can help you to do that tool call. Like you just pass in a few parameters to get weather, and that's it. So here, get weather is an MCP that can help you to return weather information for a specific city, and probably you need to pass in the city name, and then you get the weather. So it's as simple as that. And every AI app can use the same format. So that's a standardization that's enabling this. And the architecture wise, you have a host with the MCP client. An MCP client could be Claude, it could be various IDEs. You're using Cursor or Klein, Windsurf. All of these could be the MCP client that's actually talking to host, and basically they are able to talk to this remote MCP servers and get your and enable this data flow, which is bidirectional, by the way. So they do that through REST mini JSON over RPC call, a remote procedure call, and then you also have SSC that also works bidirectional, that enables bidirectional. So I just want to show you the same thing again, but there's a little bit of the few components that we're probably going to look at here. One is the host application. So host application could be anything that already has an LLM integrated. And here you have an MCP client. So whenever you go into Cursor or your client or any of the AI-based IDEs, you have a place where you can add an MCP. So that is nothing but an MCP client which takes in information about your MCP server details, and also it does the integration possible with the MCP server, and the MCP client talks to your MCP server, and your client does know all of the details on which tool, how to call that tool, what is the JSON response, how the JSON response should look like, what parameters are important. So these are information that the client would know, what parameters it has to pass to access that tool. So whenever you chat with it, maybe in this case, the MCP host application would be your cursor. It does know it has to invoke an MCP server to get that information, and that is how that is how this integration is possible. And you see this MCP servers do have different integrated with various tools to get you that data or maybe an action. So there are multiple things that you can access with this. So if you see this diagram, the MCP client through MCP servers, they can access tools just like performing a specific action. They can also access prompts or prompt templates. Let's say if you want your host to maybe summarize a passage, then this MCP server would provide a prompt template that client would understand, and client would host application would actually talk to LLM to get that output, or just the resources. So resources could be something that is read only. Maybe it has some files. Maybe context 7 could be an MCP which is only which is giving you ability to read latest documentation. So that is a resource, but it's only read only. It's not performing any action on context 7. If anyone knows what a context 7 MCP is, if who all are using all of this agentic code IDEs and all. So they usually use context 7 to extract, to basically get latest documentation from these different websites. So context 7 actually provide that information. So you have this MCP client also access resources, which is read only, tools where the action happens, and prompts are just prompt template that you pass into your MCP client to perform maybe a streamline, a workflow, whatever it is. So today what we're going to build is we are going to build a simple we'll have a client, we'll have a AI client that is we'll be using our VS Code as our host. Client is our so client is just like a cursor, but it's an open source version. So, but we have customized it a bit. So this client will talk to our MCP server, and we build this MCP server with fast MCP. Actually, we'll have this it's already live in YouTube, so it's already recorded. So if anyone wants trying to record this, we will share those YouTube videos, or even on LinkedIn. So we are actually live on across different platforms. So this MCP servers, so initially there's a handshake exchange that happens, and we use server side events, server sent events to for the exchange of this information from the server to the client, and what we are doing is as simple as a nodes app, right? We are having a MCP server which will list the existing nodes. It will also add any nodes that we need, so it can get the nodes. It can also append or create new nodes, and we are not creating any database, just storing everything in memory. So it's as simple as that. So we're just creating a minimal MCP server, and also accessing that from the client, and also we're configuring client, which is just like cursor, to access that MCP server. So that's something that we all can work on, and everyone has access to your VS Code on which you can, you know, any enter your details. I will walk you through the steps on how to do it. So I've already shared some GitHub with you guys, and also the from the place where you can access the lab. Um, Let me stop this, and we can just go ahead and review that lab. Oh yeah, so this is the repo address. I'm just sharing you the repo link. So this is the repo link. Um, and this is the lab that you can access from your local machine. And this is where we already have a VS Code hosted and also a client configured that you can go through. Let me share the let me share the lab with you. So I'll just walk you through what we could do step by step so that you all can follow along with me. Okay. So if you see this repository, this is the repository that I've just shared. This is the MCP server demo repository. So within this, what we're going to do is to create a minimalist MCP server, which is just trying to add nodes and retrieve nodes. And this is the GitHub link. What you can do is I have already shared you with this tutorial endpoint, so you could just log in here into this tutorial. So if in case you're not already signed in, you could sign up. You could just use Google or maybe some email address and password to sign up. As soon as you sign in, you have access to VS Code here. You could get into the VS Code. As of now, I'm trying to load the VS Code. As soon as you click the VS Code will be loading. The reason why we did this is now VS Code itself could be, it is that host, but you also have a plugin that you use, and we call it client, which is CLINE, just like cursor. And then we configure MCP server that we built, and just access that through that. So that's the reason why we felt like this would be a great way for you to, you know, work on this hands-on. So it might take a minute for you to for this to load, this VS Code environment to load. As soon as this loads up, you know, we can go ahead with this. Okay, there you go. The VS Code environment just started. Okay, let me check. Mm, okay, there is a 404 error. So if this is not working out, we can all use our own local VS Code. I feel like it might be still loading, or let me just start it off. So if anyone has any questions, okay, let me provide the link again for the GitHub. Mm, let me open it. I think it's might be taking. I'm sorry. Anyone has any questions? So I'm just looking at this. I don't know if anyone got it loaded already. If not, maybe I'll just go ahead and have this done from my VS Code or maybe other VS Code which I already have locally. Um, but let me just give it a final shot and see if it is still loading. No, it doesn't show it. Okay, it just says 404 Nginx error. Okay, yeah, no problem. So if we tried, but yeah, no issues. I think I'll go ahead and work on this from the local environment. So let me go ahead and, but you could use that same GitHub repository and there are steps on how to do this. So feel free to just follow those steps with us. Let me go ahead and stop the share here and then share my other screen, which has the, which has all of the steps. Um, okay, so there are a few things. If you can see my screen, there are a few things that we'll be looking at here. First thing is, if you see the repository, there are few files. First is the server.py, which is our MCP server file. This is the server, this is the MCP server that we are creating. And in this, you could see all of the tools that are defined within this MCP server. We're using a module, a package called FastMCP to create this, and we name it as a node server. And we are storing all of the all of the nodes in memory since we don't have to have a database for this demo. And here you see some of the resources that we are accessing. So first thing is we have a tool to basically to get all nodes here. And then there's one other tool to add note and list nodes and delete a node. So these are all, and there's one more method to summarize nodes. So these are all different uh, methods or tool or functions that you are exposing as a tool within your MCP server. So this could even apply to maybe your GitHub where you are just exposing various APIs which could get PR or update your PR or maybe comment on a PR. These tools could probably mean that. So what you're doing here is programmatically it's the same APIs. These are all you're still using your REST APIs, but now you are basically wrapping this in the MCP. Within the we're wrapping those APIs with this MCP tool. You're adding these decorators here and having the client access all these REST APIs dynamically through natural language, and that's the core or that's the gist of this MCP server. So if you see the client here is just a script that runs and that tests all of the that tests the MCP server. So it's a simple script that is just testing it out. But we will also go through a actual client that can talk to this. We can add an MCP server here to to add basically to add this the specific MCP locally. So since it is running locally, so we can just use that. Let me come here and create this MCP server. But before that, if you want to run this client, I could still run that here. Let me go ahead and show you that. Oh, I'm sorry. So we'll be going ahead and creating a virtual environment. You can follow along these steps here on what you could do to create the virtual environment and then start off with with the actual implementation. As of now, I'm just going ahead. Okay, maybe this is okay. I think I'm using a different browser here because I'm using anti-gravity. Let me just share my client. I think that's a one which I actually use. Let me go ahead and do that. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. So now we have this. Just going ahead and creating the virtual environment for our project. I think it's already created here, so I don't think I have to do
யார
that.
சொல்ற அப்புறம்
So since we already have this virtual environment created, I'll come here and just run this code. Um, so yeah, now the MCP server is running. It's all running in the file system. And now I come here and then run the client. And the client here is just a script that is just talking to our MCP server to test out everything. And you see it's just a script. So it just ran really fast. It just connected to the node server. It added a node. So all of this is already done and it's able to do that really fast because the server is already running. And now, so since it is just a client script, it's definitely working fine. But how does it work within my client? In here, I can actually create an MCP server. Like I can add this as an MCP server since my MCP server is running here. Now I'll come here and add this as a remote MCP server. So I can just add maybe, nodes app, which is local, and also the server IP address, which is this. I'll copy this and you can see all the steps in the README file. And I'm just using the SSE legacy because we're using server sent events to do this and just adding this server. So if you see here, the server is added and it's called Notes app and it is live. So since the server is added to my client, now when I'm chatting with client, I can just ask it to just go ahead and create. I can go ahead and ask it to add nodes, delete nodes, and all of that good stuff. So let me go ahead and do that now. Can you find or can you uh, add the note about my evening meetup? So if you see here, when I'm just asking you to just add the note about the evening meetup, so now the LLM would look for different MCPs, and you see here, it actually learned that there is a MCP server, which is Nodes MCP server that we just built, and it can just go ahead and first thing is list nodes. So it just want to see what nodes it has, and it just goes and then looks for other stuff there. So what are the two nodes that it looks like? It looks for to add a note about the evening meet. I need a bit more information. So it's asking me what information it needs. So what title that I need for this note and also what content. Because if you see my MCP server, it's which we configured, it does look for within the server.py, every nodes, it looks for a title, right? Because it's one of the mandatory parameters. And it will also, and that's the reason why it's asking me, okay, what would be the title if in case you want to add this? I would come here and then, I'm sorry, I should have just gone to the slide here and say, okay, what is the title? So I'll just say title is meetup. Um, so it will just use that and then creates that title and creates a notes. Okay, the title will be I need to know what context in this notes about the evening meetup. So I can just say add that, just include that I need to set up a laptop. So and just I just it's getting more information and there you go. It just this is the plan that it's trying to do. So it's just using the Notes app MCP server, which is add note, and it can just go and act on it. So it can actually go ahead and add this note. So I can just click on the act mode. It's just going ahead and adding this specific notes. So there you go. So it's just going and calling the add note uh, method. So if you see here, this is it's triggering that function, which is add note, and I say, okay, yes, approve. It just went in and added that. So now I can go ahead and list the notes as well. What are the notes available? And it can just go ahead and trigger that too now. So if you see it just going and it's asking permission to list notes, and yeah, these are the notes which are there here. And I can just ask, can you summarize my notes? And it will also try to summarize the notes. There you go. So if you see all these methods, you are actually doing few things here, right? We have seen in the slide that you could access tool. In our case, the tool here is adding or listing. So these are just within our REST API, to update or to get. So these are, we are updating and also listing them. So these are two different tool actions that you're performing. And here, if you see the resource, it's just to get all nodes, which is read only, right? And then you're also creating a prompt because now you are basically summarizing. So you get the prompt from that MCP server, and now you're using LLM to summarize it. So there are three resources that you have three components or three different things that you can get from this MCP. One is the resource, the next is a tool, and also a prompt, which can all help you to build your own MCPs. By the way, so that's how it works. And if in case this is the MCP that we just built. That's the reason why I could come here, just add and just put a server URL since it's all local. But you can also see a lot of other MCPs which are built by other individuals. So if you see, this is a Playwright. So if you are familiar with Playwright, it's an MCP that I have, and these are different parameters that are available with this MCP, and it's quite a lot. You have Playwright put, post, a lot of them. These are all wrappers around, I can say, APIs. Even here, if you see, this is Notes app that we just created, and the parameters here are only two things, which is title and content. That's the reason why when I ask you to just add this as a note, it was even asking me, okay, what is the title? Because it's a mandatory attribute. It does need that to create this, to invoke this add note. That's the reason you see a follow-up where it was asking me to give a title. And list notes also, it's asking me to delete note. If I ask you to delete a note, it probably asks me, okay, what title what the note that I have to delete. So likewise, you also have context. So if you see the context 7 is great. I mean, if anyone is using MCPs, I think they would already, if you're using coding agents to write code, you will be very familiar with context 7. So context 7 is something that to get libraries for, to get documentation of various libraries, which is up to date, because LLMs sometimes, they're trained on outdated data. So maybe they don't actually retrieve the right latest documentation, but so context 7 is meant for that, and you see it's also one of the MCPs. In your case, if you want to install any other MCPs, maybe GitHub MCP, I could just install it by clicking it, and you see now it just goes ahead and installs the GitHub MCP. So that's these are different ways in which you can create custom MCPs or get MCPs from the marketplace and then use it. So that helps me to, I don't even have to, write GitHub or maybe, I can just pull my comments or maybe PRs which are active now, maybe do a code review. This could all be done just by chatting with NLP. And gone are the days when you have to do this manual plumbing with REST APIs and all. So this is all making it possible. And how do you implement this in production? So in production, if you see, this is all the coding. My client here is just a coding setup, right? It could also be used in the AI agents. If you're building in your enterprise, you could use that. You can convert your regular existing REST APIs to MCPs too, because your REST APIs are, if you just wrap them with this fancy decorator and then add some and add some documentation on what this is supposed to do, then your AI or the LLMs does know how to pass the variables to invoke that function. So that's all the LLMs doing that. They know when to trigger that API to get the most from your REST API. But in enterprise, the thing that you need to take care of is the authentication. Because now when you're accessing your resources, just like how you are accessing your resources with with proper role-based access control, or if you're using SSO, just having them integrated as well with your MCP is really important, and that's something that you probably need to spend more time on. Definitely, these are great, but security is also a big concern here. And recently, I think Anthropic also published a blog in which they say that MCPs are really good for to access tools and everything, but still they might burn your tokens. They might burn a lot of tokens because now all this documentation. If you see when I'm using my MCP within client, you see how much of these are all different tokens that it has to. All of this is something that it was just thinking, and it also needs to access all of the outputs of these MCPs. So let's say if I'm using a Google Drive MCP and access the data from my Google Drive, that output will be dumped into my context window now, right? So instead of just relying on MCP servers, you could also use code mode. So you can actually call a function to do all of this processing, this cleaning of data. Maybe your output of an MCP is huge. Maybe in my case, my notes is only 3 or 4 lines, but imagine if I have a notes with 10,000 lines. The nodes could be huge, but it is extracting all those nodes. So if it is extracting 1,000 lines of nodes, then I'm just burning my tokens because now I'm sending this to a LLM all the time. So my context window is exhausted. So instead of doing that, you could actually have your own function, which is external to MCP, and it can actually it can help you out with less tokens, and also the output is deterministic. So I've actually done a video on that, how that pattern can really help you. So I'll just go ahead and share that video with you guys on YouTube. How you can save money by using code mode on these MCPs. Um, so if you all have any questions, please do ask me now. I can share you the GitHub. I know today's session is short. It's just a 1 hour long 1 hour long. Usually I have 2 hours long sessions, but I have some personal engagements after this. That's the reason why I had to do only in 1 hour, and I had to rush through it. But if you guys have any questions, please do share that. We can just talk about it.
Yeah. Hi, Raj. So, in your editor, I think you were using Cursor just now. The interface on the left side that was showing the MCP server and all that. What was that again?
It's Klein, not Cursor. I know it's a Cursor IDE, but it is actually Klein. So
Oh,
let me
okay.
show you that. Yeah. So Klein is it's a, Klein has a flexibility where with Klein you can. I'm sorry, just a minute. I think with Klein you could actually use any LLM. The thing with Cursor is, Cursor doesn't, I don't think Cursor, I did use Cursor before, but Cursor sometimes doesn't give you ability to, to choose your, model provider. I sometimes get expensive because I'm doing everything upfront. Like you have subscription based, right? $40, $50 per person. But with this client, you have ability to choose any model. So let me show you how that works. Um, so within this, uh, yeah, so this is clients, but you could still do the same thing with your MCPs too. And if you see here, I'm using, if I click on this, so I'm using my own API provider, sorry, LLM provider. We call it OpenRouter. I mean, I'm using OpenRouter to access my LLMs, and I'm using Sonnet 4 for this. But I could also use anything, like even the Kimi 2 model. If I want to use, I could just select that, and the pricing for that is significantly low. I mean, Kimi K2 is, I think the pricing for that would be way cheaper than the regular model. Maybe, just output and input is just 30 cents per million tokens and 1.15 for million tokens. If in case I'm using this to maybe generate some code, which I'm not, maybe some POCs or demo, where I don't need, where I don't want to spend a lot, then I can choose between different models. So this is what Klein is. I can share you the link on how to install this. It's just like it's an extension that you get through Cursor. This IDE itself is actually a Cursor IDE. What you see here is actually Cursors, but you can still install any VS Code extensions within this. So if you go into your VS Code marketplace, you can actually find them here. So you can just search for CLINE, and and this is the one that you need to install. Um, so yeah, I think you could do it on your VS Code as well.
Thank you. I'm trying out anti-gravity right now. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
check.
I'm actually doing that. The previous IDE which I shared is actually anti-gravity, and it's not configured yet, but it's amazing. It's so great. I mean, okay, I think you can see this. This is actually anti-gravity. It's all agentic mode. You could actually check different. It's very fast. You see here, you have planning mode and you have fast mode, and every input that you give is all agentic. I mean, I've actually used this to generate this code as well. All of the code is actually generated by anti-gravities using Gemini 3. So yeah, it's
Wow.
amazing. Yeah, I mean, I know wipe coding is, I know, you definitely need coding. So it doesn't mean that, you can code your applications. It can definitely, for all the folks like who are not developers and are just wipe coding. So definitely, I would say you use any IDE, you always should understand your code, because even it could be anything. Gemini 3 is great, but still it was able to, it really fools you around sometimes. So you always need to understand the code that it generates, even though it helps you to generate code really fast. But yeah, understanding it is really important. Any other questions anyone has that you want to go over? So I'm sharing you the link for my the video where Anthropic says, MCPs are great, but you should always be very careful, because they can burn your pocket, and also there's a lot of noise in the when you use a lot of MCPs. So definitely make use of this efficiently. There you go. I just shared that.
Raj,
Um,
I have a question.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Andrew,
Yes.
just a quick question. So going back to following up on the previous question, so if you're in your VS Code, you could use like I use like GitHub Copilot, or
Mhm.
you could use Klein. Like or you could use something like Cursor. So can you just, are you saving cost, or like what's the motivation for using Klein versus like some of these other options that I just mentioned?
See, the problem with GitHub Copilot, and you're even though I think GitHub Copilot now you have option to choose other vendors, like maybe other LLM providers. Client gives you freedom to choose any provider, right? With Client you could choose. I mean, Client is not tied down to any vendor. It's open source. So if you see Cursor is actually is a they usually sell you Cursor as a, you need to buy Cursor because you're also getting the LLM's tokens along with Cursor, isn't it? And GitHub Copilot, same, like they do have a subscription model where you need to have a subscription. You use the model or you don't, maybe a month you're on vacation, you still have to pay for that, right? With Klein, it's just a shell, and now you want to choose the cheapest of the models available out there. You could probably do that, and you want to code, maybe I want to generate like synthetic data, or maybe code maybe 20,000 lines of code. Cursor, or even Cursor would probably, I think they give you unlimited. I'm not sure how that works out with them. Or even Copilot has, even though you could do that, but still the problem with that is even if I'm just writing 10 lines of code, or maybe 20,000 lines of the code, I have to still pay for the vendor. So
That makes
with Clang,
sense.
yeah.
So sorry to interrupt you. That makes total sense. One follow-up question with Klein, could I, let's just say I was working on my own laptop, could I download an open source LLM onto my laptop and use that for free
Yes.
instead of using some frontier type model that I would have to pay for? With Klein, could I do that, do you think?
Yes, you could. I think they should have an Llama provider for this. Let me check that. I haven't used it, but I feel like it can do that. Uh,
Okay.
I'll probably check on that. But it does have that ability to do that. Okay, I think I'm opening this. I'm on a wrong model, like a wrong ID. Yeah, this is what it is. Okay, so within this, let's get into client. I think so. Within client, you can select these providers. Um, yeah, so here you have the provider. So yeah, there
You
you
have
go. You have
lots
Ola.
of choices. Okay.
Yeah, you have a lot of choices. I mean, you could use SAP as a AI code. I never knew it, but yeah, Olama, and you can use your own model running locally and just maybe a 4-bit quantized model and just have it run with it, right?
Okay. And going back to the anti-gravity that you were talking about, I didn't, could you just explain that one more time? What does anti-gravity do?
I mean, it's the same thing, but it's agentic. So they did agent first. So as of now, if you see in Claude you have agent mode, right? I mean, you have sub agents and everything in Claude that you do,
Mhm.
that you can choose various sub agents and all. But in here, it's agents are the first class citizens, so you could probably have every question that you have. It's a bunch of agents working together. So it's like so it's probably it's better agentic in nature. So I mean to say, anything that you ask, any development that you ask for, it can create a MD file. Let's say if I ask it to work on a README file, or maybe a documentation, or when you're trying to ask it to change a feature, you could even update it within the .md files, and you can comment it. I think that feature is also available even in I think in Cursor and all. But in this, it just everything is bunch of agents. So they don't have a concept of I'm just using this LLM, or maybe I'm using Cloud, or maybe OpenAI, and usually in that case, it's just one LLM working on your problem. But with anti-gravity, it just all agents who are so it's just a bunch of agents who are talking to each other and then working on it. So there's no concept of one LLM working, but it's together, different agents are working together. If in case I'm doing the same thing with, if you see these commands, let's say if I want to push this to remote registry, so you see all these three happening at once. They're like, hey, can you go do this? If you see in the cursor or others, it's usually sequential. Even for the development process, I see they're doing it does really fast. All of the development process, it usually happens within like few seconds. So the speed of development is really fast, and I feel like the UI is amazing because I'm talking about the model now. So anti-gravity is just the shell, but the model with Gemini Pro is amazing. It's the UI features, of the way it's developing UI is really great. That's what I observed. But anti-gravity is just like any other IDE that we've been using, but they only made everything with agents. There's nothing like a single LLM working on it. You could even check. I don't know. Somehow they're giving me Sonnet as well. I don't know how they're doing that, but yesterday I hit the limit of high, and they asked me to use Sonnet. I was using that. But it's doing great as of now. You can give it a shot for UI task.
Is the anti-gravity free or is it you have to
Oh, it's
subscribe?
free. It's
Free.
free. It's free in the sense that I don't know how the pricing works. As of now, they're giving it for because I have a Pro too. I have Gemini Pro, but I don't know if I think anyone can download and use it as of now, is what I believe, because they're just doing this for trial. They just introduced like 2 days ago. But yeah, maybe you can give it a shot and check if maybe you need to buy the models tokens from them, because as you hit the, because I only got few, even though with I pay like $20 a month, but even then I hit limits yesterday. But I think for unlimited, you probably need to pay for that. Maybe for more credits, you can pay for that. But I see they only have minimal choices, only four models, four or five models, and one is open source GPT, and these are our cloud models. We can always ask that in the.
Raj, there is something called Kodo also
Oh, there are
for
so many.
similar lines.
I'm sorry, Kodo. Where is it?
Kodo, yes, QODO. Is, is that also another AI assistant tool available on
Where is it,
similar
Kodo?
lines? Yeah.
I mean, do you see Kodo? Where is it? Here in this, is it in Marketplace? CODO?
Yeah, Kodo AI is one another AI assistant.
Yeah, there are a lot of them. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very easy to generate one, right? It's just an extension of VS Code with just a wrapper on LLM. And
Okay.
yeah, I think with AI, you could probably build that your own client or your own Kodo in a day or two.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's it. It's just a wrapper. So, I mean, what we did now is even for our VS Code, the lab that we developed, we are actually customized client. We stripped out a lot of stuff from client, and then we are actually building a custom extension of ours, like for our own custom extension. Yes, Dash, the recording will be provided. You could go into Agent Versity channel. We have all the recordings there. Even this recording will be provided. Okay, so now that if anyone has any questions, please do shoot that here. If you don't have any questions, I just wanted to talk to you guys about maybe a bit of what we do at Agent Versity, and anyone who is here is a developer and who wants to get into AI. So this is what we're trying to do now. So we have there are a few things that we're already working on. Um, so Agent Versity AI is, we are firstly a global community. We almost have like 23,000 folks across the globe. It's a huge community that we've built for almost 2 years now. So with Agent Versity, it's a basically it's a platform. We have a bootcamp program where you could actually build production ready apps. It's a platform that can help you to do that. So and because most of the products, like let's say if you're working on with any bootcamp, they have a capstone project, and capstones are mainly done something locally. But with us, you also have ability to actually build production ready applications, which are all launch ready applications. So these are all different programs. It's a 8 weeks program. We're still building a bit more on the pricing side and all. We'll keep you updated on that. But we have, it's all project based learning, so it's all top down. You're not going to work like Python from basics or anything, but based on, you will learn what is needed. You will learn things on the fly, because we will have a bunch of agents all working with you, so which will be helping you out if you're stuck somewhere. So you could build your own
Hi,
Perplexity
Raj.
as the first project. Sorry, someone had a question.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. This is
Yeah, go ahead, Dilip.
I have a question. Uh,
Yes.
I think the answer is yes, but I just want to check. Do we have support for the cloud engine? The
Yes.
say for example, like IBM Cloud Engine.
IBM Cloud Engine. What support is it you're talking about?
I mean, like I know you said there is a API support and database and other thing to communicate. Do you support? I mean, does this MCP server support the cloud engine?
Cloud Engine.
IBM Cloud Engine, for example, the
Maybe.
capstone pretty much use the IBM Cloud Engine, the
Maybe
ICE.
they do have this MCPs here, right? So you're talking about the cloud provider, isn't it?
No, the it is pretty much the they refer as ICE IBM Cloud Engine.
Okay. ICE. Okay.
For the
Innovation
data
Center
store
for
and
Education. Okay. Okay. Innovation Center for Education. So it's a
IBM Cloud
okay,
Engine,
okay.
yeah,
IBM Cloud Engine. So you're saying if this supports this has a MCP for this?
right.
Maybe. I mean, see, it is very simple to build your own MCPs as well, right? Even they don't have an MCP, if they have an API, you could just wrap that API with an MCP. So you could also build something like that.
look like yes. Yeah, I
Yes.
got that, sir.
So
Thank you.
you have, yeah, maybe they do have it, right? Maybe I don't know. But
Yeah.
everyone is building MCPs now because the thing why they're building MCPs are because it's very easy to build MCPs. It's just that, you're wrapping tools and resources, everything together on this. And also it's the LLM that's actually able to understand because the LLMs, as they are really good with tool calling, they know exactly what to call when you ask a question. So yeah,
Okay.
that makes it possible, right? Yeah. So
Okay.
definitely, yeah, it is.
I have other question. What
Yes.
if there are two MCP server pretty
Mhm.
much the same capability? Let's say, for example, there are two airlines providing the MCP capability, and
Mhm.
how, say, for example, if I need to find the cheapest airline ticket from here to London or
Mhm.
something like that, and if multiple airlines can provide the service and they both have the MCP service capability, which one will be picked, or it will pick both and it can summarize and answer?
Yes, I mean, if you want to choose the cheapest one, you could probably have your bunch of MCPs and you can get the data and then you do the comparison, right? Maybe you have a calculator MCP, you just go and do the comparison, which is cheaper, and now you return the thing. So it's all something that you have to do on your end, but the model is not going to do the calculations. You could probably have your own MCPs like a calculator MCP. So once it gets the data, it just compares which one is cheaper and it says, okay, this is the cheaper one. So you need to engineer around that.
Yeah,
But
I mean, if I have two MCP servers available,
okay,
which
which
one?
one would
Which,
choose?
yes.
Which one it chooses, right? Okay, at that point of time, it's a runtime decision, right? When you ask it to go and book a flight, it does know there are two different MCPs. You could engineer it to call both the MCPs with the details, and now just get the output, and now it just tells you which one is cheaper. That's it. You could still do that. But only thing is you have to give it specific information, explicitly mention that, hey, there are other tools available. You can even get that data from bunch of MCPs, and then once you have the data from bunch of MCPs, you could do the comparison and tell which one is cheaper. So it can do that. It just the when you're giving these MCPs, it does know it has access to two different MCPs. So you probably need to do your prompting in such a way that even there are two MCPs that you want to call, get that information and then do your own analysis to find out which one is cheaper, and then provide me with the output. So that is a system prompt probably you need to add if in case you're adding it,
Got
right?
it.
As per your
Thank
LLM. So that is not confused. So yeah, sounds good. Any other questions anyone has? Okay. If you guys don't have any questions, yeah. So this is what we're kind of providing, where you could actually build, your all of these projects. You have ability to build Perplexity, multi-agent content automation, multimodal agents creation. You can host your own small. We also provide GPUs for you guys to build and fine-tune models. And then we'll also talk about self-improving agents. And then you have your own project that you can do. So it's all top-down approach where you could start off with a project, implement it, learn through that project. You're able to have pipelines, and you can also deploy this across different cloud environments. So if you're already working with AWS, we do have support for deploying your final product on AWS or Azure or GCP, Databricks or Snowflake. These are all 5 platforms we are supporting. So I think, yeah, it's one of the we're really excited about this because it can definitely help you to come out with a production ready product that you can market and probably begin your own startup just even while working. So we will announce the start date. It is starting on Jan 13th, but we are working on a few more details. So once that is done, we'll shoot you an email. So please feel free to ask any questions that you have. But yeah, even with regards to our events, there are also a few more events coming up. Please do follow us for those events. But yeah, I think hopefully we are just on time. We're just 1 minute over. So if you guys have no other questions, I'm just
Raj, your bootcamp will be
Mhm.
open to non-developers also? No.
Yes,
That,
it will
uh,
be. It will be developed for. I mean, having a development experience is important. But even if you are coming from a non-development background,
mhm.
we have no code tools that you could use to build this. So it's hyper personalized. Even if you're coming from you want to learn coding or you don't want to learn coding. So if you don't want to learn coding, there are also other tools that can help you out to build your own product which is no code way of building these things. So we do encourage you maybe just submit your query and we'll talk about it. Yeah.
Some basic knowledge of Python should be good, right?
Oh yeah, that should be good. Basic
Okay.
knowledge of Python should be good. And also, whatever you're trying to do, right? AI is actually helping everyone upskill really fast. It's just about
Correct.
having a proper, if you go and to ChatGPT and ask a question, maybe it can give you an output, but if you have a human and AI agent together planning something for you, where we align what topics you need to learn, enough Python to work on AI agents, I think that is
Correct.
something that we could do, right? You don't have to learn everything.
Correct. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Because now if you go and learn Python, there's so many things that you probably need to learn, but there are only few Python things that you can probably learn. So yeah, anyone who's not into coding, who is a product manager, if you want to get into AI, yeah, I think this is the right time. And also software engineers who are really insecure, feeling like, oh, maybe this AI can do coding. I feel like every software developer would be evolved to be AI agents developer eventually. And it's already happening now. The problem is when you're coming from software engineering, there's a significant mind shift. There's a change in your approach in building a product, right? When you're building a static, maybe a microservice, it doesn't change its behavior. Maybe you do your unit test cases, but when you build an AI agent, it requires evaluations. So if you see our curriculum, we do have you do a lot of evaluations. Every project that you do RAG metrics. You check for all of them. You do LLM as a judge. You do full tracing, logging, latency. So if you are an enterprise and you just want us to help your team out, we also have team trainings. But if you are coming from enterprise environment and now you're just an application developer but want to be an agentic developer, this will be the best opportunity for you because we will create you will be already working in a production kind of environment. So you carry on this knowledge with you along with this training with your so you just discuss this with your employer as well, because since it's not a simple capstone project bootcamp, but it's definitely a production ready bootcamp. And also a lot of these AI agents that you built, usually they require RAG. They do require evaluations. They do require defining metrics and all of them. So that is where I feel like the software engineering mindset would probably requires it requires a change when they want to evolve or be in the AI engineering space. That's where they have to they have to be trained a bit more on. And I think that's once that is done, then yeah, building AI agents would be definitely a more sought out skill. And definitely, even though AI is developing code, the even to build AI agents, it's just a lot of experimentation. So experimentation is something that AI engineers would do, and we are enabling that with our bootcamp as well. So most of every course does come with evals. So every project that you do is actually you also do evaluations for that. You also, if you want to build your own small language model, fine tune it, we do that as well along as part of this program. So yeah, definitely it's a great program. So anyone who is interested, please be in touch with us on Meetup or follow our LinkedIn page. We will get back to you with some more information about this. But yeah, I think we have 3 minutes over. Anyone has any more questions?
Thank you, Raj.
Yeah, thanks a lot. If you guys no other questions, then yeah, let me go ahead and end this call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you everyone for being part of this call.
Thanks.
And yes, thank you.
Thank you.